education. That's the key, really, for many people, not only in the city of Glenorchy, but the city of Hobart, and all around this country. That's the way we're going to improve people's standard of living. That's why we're going to give them an equal opportunity life, is to improve our education system, particularly our public education system. In this country, I believe we do have a good public education system, and we should be proud of it, but yes, we can do better, and particularly in certain areas of this electorate, we can do better, and that's why this government's committed to investing more money into schools, and it's nearly doubled the amount of money over the last 3 years into schools. It's why it's putting more money into early education, as I've spoken to you before, why it's putting more money in trying to get more social inclusion, encouraging more people to go on to tertiary education and university. It is putting all these blocks in places to encourage people to go in education, because that is a way forward for many people in the community. And it's also a way forward to understand and engage parents, to ensure that they can see the benefits of education. And there's been a lot of terrific work in our community. And we should be very proud in this city, and in both cities, of the work that's done in our community for the education and to do this. The other area, the practical solutions, is community organisations, and particularly community houses, which we have got a number of them in the city of Glenorchy. And these are terrific practical things, and we need to support these more. They do an unbelievable job. They are the cold face of dealing with people's problems day to day. Whether it be about what food they're going to eat that night, whether it be about getting their child to school, whether it be about issues with their health. These things are day-to-day issues that these people face, and that's why these community houses really work, and it's something that I've spoken and visited a number of them, and we need to encourage and to support these more in a good structural way and strengthen our communities.
I'm not going to let you get away with that, Jonathan. Education is more than buildings. Education is money for teachers, etc. The fact is that the Labor government has announced recently you are not going to review the funding model for education for another 4 years. That means it will be 7 years from the time you come to power before the Labor Party is prepared to review a funding model that is widely acclaimed as broken.
Okay, did you want to respond to that?
Look, the funding model we inherited from the Howard years, and it's, look, we realise that it needs to be improved. So we realise that we've committed to a major review of the funding. And I might add that this is the first major review since 1973, since the Whitlam years.
Hang on, mate, you have committed to review it in 4 years' time. That'll be 7 years since when you come to power. How many years do you want?
As I said, we've committed to reviewing it, and we've committed to ensuring that we do equal. We're the party that we and the Labor Party is committed to public education in this country, and is the party that is brought in and committed to public education. And during the Whitlam years, as many of you in this room would be attest to, it was through these years that we grew this public education. That's why it is strong today.
Okay, thank you. And it was good, Jeff's the first to crack on the stool there.
My name is Amy Bowland, and my question's about crisis accommodation and affordable housing. Denison has 7 shelters, each of which turn away between 20 to 50 people on a weekly basis. We also have one of the most clogged public housing systems in the country, and I'd like to know what each of you would plan to do about it.
Who'd you like to start? I'll jump into that one. I don't claim to know the answer. Sometimes it's things that politicians and wannabes need to defer to expert advice on. What I do know is that during the last term, or the previous term of the state government, the public housing waiting list increased by 10% from about 3,000 people up to about 3,300, something like that. I do know that in Tasmania, every night, 200 or 300 people sleep on the street, not to mention the many hundreds of others who sleep on people's couches and in spare bedrooms and anywhere else. The answer is more money. And it's not just a state responsibility, because I know that the federal government, when it thinks there's a few votes and it's got a bit of spare cash, it likes to throw money at public housing for its own political self-interest. I made the point tonight countless times, I'm going to make it again. We are one of the richest countries in the world. Up until the recent GFC, every politician in the previous government was boasting about how we'd had a boom decade, that we'd done so well. Well, if we've come out of a boom decade and people are still sleeping cold on the streets, what hope do they have as we go through a GFC? It's not good enough. We need politicians who will start realising there is one priority only, and that is the public interest. I suspect some of these politicians in Canberra don't know what that word means, that term means.
Half an hour left, so we really have to keep our answers short. So 30 seconds if possible.
Yeah, sure, Amy, that's a very good question. Thank you for that. I've had several discussions with community housing groups, both running shelters and also people that are building community houses. The discussions that I've had with them are aligned along the lines with what the TLC does in terms of a revolving loan. I would take that discussion back to Canberra and set that up so we have revolving loan arrangements where more houses are built, the money spits back. So certainly, I've had those discussions with everyone.
Issues of housing and homelessness and crisis accommodation, to just focus on just purely buildings, whilst it's important, it's again like the rest of the health system. In the majority, not the majority, but the significant number of people in crisis accommodation, well actually the majority of people with homeless do have issues regarding to mental illness, a whole range of things, social disadvantage, and these are things that are broader than just focusing on bricks and mortar. As looking at the different causes, so too do we need to be innovative in the changes, in their solutions. And certainly there's a range of problems that I've been hearing from, and I've found that getting out on the campaign trail, people have been ringing me and emailing me with their stories about how the housing Tasmania may be inflexible, how they're not suited to their situation, how their situation changes, but Housing Tasmania can't meet with them. And I think that's really important. Funding is important, and I think there are issues regarding the housing debt that means that Housing Tasmania can't just get on and do what it needs to do. And certainly, as a member for Denison, I'll take that approach, that it is multifactorial, which is, I don't want to sound wonkish, but certainly understanding the broader issues of mental illness, social disadvantage, all feeds into it. And circumstances change, and we as a community have to be flexible in their solutions, but also ensuring that it is adequately funded. And it's as simple as that as well.
Thanks, Jeff. Mel?
I made the point earlier about how Australia, we're a wealthy nation, but we're wasting so much money on things that we don't need, like talking about refugees, or giving money to the coal industry. I think that this money, it's about priorities. It's about what governments think is where we should spend the money, and I think that we stand for spending the money on things like housing, because I understand it's very, very tough. I think one of the things as well that we need to do is we used to have public housing, which it wasn't just people who were in crisis or people who suffer from mental illness and things like that. It was like teachers and nurses and like a whole range of people would use public housing. And I think that we should get back to that model so that there's affordable housing for people who want it, so that it's not stigmatised, so that it's a priority for the government to invest in.
Okay, thanks, Mel.
On the issue of crisis housing, I've met with Common 47, and they've got a terrific model that if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, that we're going to hopefully act on. It's about looking after pregnant women that are in need of crisis accommodation. At the moment, many of people within the community that are pregnant and they need accommodation through a range of issues. Obviously, there's domestic issues that are associated with many of these people. So these are the type of crisis accommodation we need more of. I agree there's some of the crisis, particularly for women in our community, we need more of, because generally they're the people that really are at the hard edge in these things. Obviously, we need more on the housing issue. There has been some good affordable housing that has been built under the stimulus package in Moona and Chigwell, just to name a couple. But I agree, we need to do more. I sometimes, you go and visit people and you go into their homes and look, quite frankly, we need to continue to improve our housing, and it's incumbent on us to do that. And as a government and as someone that's committed to this, I will ensure that we do.
Okay, thanks. We've got quite a number of questions now we need to get through. We've only got about 15 minutes. So over here.